Today is just going to be a simple basic drive. It's going to be more of a topic. We're going to talk about car stuff. Quick wrist check. I am wearing the Seiko Orange Monster, the tried and true. I've been wearing this more and more. You know, after I did that video with the 4 watches that I've had over 2 years, I've been just gravitating towards the Orange Monster. It's really weird. But back to the cars. Part of the reason why I'm just taking a nice casual drive today is I did, with the help of my 17-year-old daughter, actually, got the, and my wife, got the lowering springs on from Unity Performance, their white line springs. They only lower their car 0.82 inches. I think by the time they settle in, they're going to be a little bit more. I've logged some miles on them now, so I'll do some measurements and stuff like that. I'll do a separate video showing some of that. I got a little bit of footage, not a ton. But right now we're on the kind of the north back way into Frankfort, Michigan. Not too far away from where I typically drive and stuff like that. So I'm going to drive this back way into Frankfort, and then we're going to drive through downtown Frankfort and then go across over to another town just to the south of Frankfort called Elberta, and then we'll look out over Lake Michigan. So that's just the extent of this drive. So very slow, all like 25-35 mile an hour stuff. But back to the car stuff. I did lower it. I still haven't I need the wheel alignment done, the 4-wheel alignment done. Now I didn't replace any of the other components that would allow further adjustment for those, you know, for the alignment, but I'm okay with the alignment getting pretty close to stock. With a little bit of camber is fine. That'll give a nice, I don't want to say darty, but slightly more darty feel than an OEM alignment. The other thing I installed was the white line upgraded rear anti-roll bar or sway bar, anti-sway bar. And so far I can tell with the springs and the sway bar that the overall ride compliancy, now keep in mind we're still on the factory dampeners or the, you know, struts. It feels actually probably a little bit smoother than stock, just slightly. This is a cool little road here that cuts down and around in. This is closed in the winter time, and they allow sledding down it. So it's too steep to maintain for this area with the amount of snow that we get. But it just kind of dumps right into a lot of these homes here. You're basically a block away from the Lake Michigan shoreline to your right. So I'm gonna roll my window down, so we'll get a little bit of noise here, but let's see. Okay, yeah, so suspension wise, still pretty good. The OEM suspension was already pretty stiff, so this is not really any stiffer until you start to get compression on those progressive rate springs. Now once that occurs, then you will have a very, very tight suspension. It becomes not bouncy, it becomes just firm, very firm. And that's kind of what you want for cornering. You want it when you apply pressure or stress on one side of, you know, of the vehicle, or one corner of the vehicle, you want it to like stiffen up and hold its form a little bit, and then allow the rest of the car to settle in tires. Speaking of tires, actually I'm not going to loop around, but over to the right is the Frankfort Beach area. I'm just going to kind of cut across here. Frankfort gets really busy in the summertime, so this will all be packed. There'll be cars everywhere, pedestrians, obviously, people enjoying their vacations and everything, having a good time. It's a very, very busy area, the northern Michigan, in the summertime. They'll come out here for sunsets too. Sunsets over Lake Michigan are just beautiful. It's kind of, I mean, it's kind of like an ocean where it just keeps going and going. So everybody's usually pretty cool though. You know, they know that there's traffic and pedestrians and everything. So, and I probably look pretty weird with this GoPro mounted to my head, but it is what it is. I'm doing this for you guys. So springs, sway bar, covered that. Tires and wheels, I have them. They look great. Tires are going to be awesome. They're going to be super sticky. When I ordered those from Fitment Industries, it seemed like they were so... Fitment Industries seems like a good company. The tires, you know, wheels, they'll come mounted and balanced and everything and shipped. But one fail, I think, on their part is, you know, when you put tires and wheels that are more performance based on a car, you want the hub to be hub centric on your factory hub. So these wheels that I ordered, the hub opening on it is like, I forget the numbers exactly, but we'll just say like 76.1 millimeter, and the hub on my Honda Civic, this car that I'm driving, the 23 Honda Civic SI, are like 66.1 or 64.1. I forget the numbers exactly, but there's a difference. So when you put the wheel on, if you were to just put it on, which I didn't, you'd be counting on the lug nuts to hold the wheels completely centered on your hub, which it'll do that. That's called lug centric. It'll pretty much do that, but that's not ideal when you're going to put any sort of strain on that wheel, because you're counting on the wheel to be tight to that hub. And I will explain that, because I did order some hub centric rings. They're just adapters to take up that space, and I ordered them directly from Koenig, which the wheels are Koenig. I used to run Koenig wheels way back in the day, and I never really had any issue with them. I know some people have, but they're mass produced, and you know, sometimes you'll have failures in them. It is what it is, but I don't think I'll have any issues with these ones. So those are coming. I'll have those towards the end of next week, so I'll get the tires and wheels mounted once those hub centric rings come in. So there's a big boat launch parking area over here. You can jump onto this inner waterway, and then it takes you out through like a little bay, and then it takes you directly out to Lake Michigan. That was downtown Frankfort. Now we're coming down toward the east end of Frankfort, and then we're gonna head south over to Elberta. That's the plan here. So tires, wheels, those are going to be mounted soon. Just waiting on the hub centric rings. Springs, sway bar, good. What's next? Obviously, the main thing is to enjoy the car. You know, I took it on a road trip down to Kokomo, Indiana. It did great. Got 40 miles to the gallon. It was comfortable for the most part. It's not like a Lexus or a Cadillac or anything like that. It's not comfortable like that. It's comfortable for a you know, mild performance car. So there's an A&W there if anybody's interested in having a chili dog, coney dog, whatever you want to call it. They got good burgers and root beer floats. Anybody ever tried a root beer float, or is that, I don't know, is that just a Michigan thing, or is that everywhere? I don't know. It's basically you take, I can't remember if you put the ice cream in first or you put the ice cream after. I should probably know that, but I was never a big fan of root beer floats. You can do it with other sodas too, but basically it's a full glass of root beer and you put vanilla ice cream in there. It's called a root beer float, and you kind of like eat it with a, you know, spoon as you eat the ice cream, as it kind of subtly melts and stuff. It has some good flavors. It's fun. I don't know, let me know in the comments. Have you ever done that? Have you ever had a root beer float? I know you can do it with other soda beverages and stuff too. So never been my thing, to be honest with you. I've never really been into sweets that much. So technically I believe we're back on M22, which I've taken you on many times. This is just a short road over to Alberta. I'm gonna cut into Alberta and we're gonna go over to an overlook. So what is next for the Civic SI? I'm debating, trying to figure out what I really want to do. I think the next logical thing for me to do is an upgraded front mount intercooler. I also did the Acuity shift knob and bushings and everything. Very happy with those too. But PRL, oh, it's gonna be there's a lot of clouds and everything, but it's still gonna be a good colorful sunset. So PRL makes a really good like cast aluminum end tank in very bar and plate style, front mount intercooler. I'm thinking I'm going to do that. My son just put a CPE front mount intercooler on his, I think it's a 2015 Focus ST, and he's got a thing where he can see the intake air temperatures, and he said his intake air temperatures are down pretty dramatically compared to his OEM front mount intercooler. Now, we're not dyno testing or anything like on any of these cars, so, but common sense, or if you know anything about tuning or cars, you'll know that if you can lower your intake air temperatures, then you're probably going to have, I don't want to say more horsepower, but you're going to have a more consistent peak horsepower. Because with these stock intercoolers, they're adequate, but they'll heat soak, where basically they're not dissipating multiple hot runs. The heat coming off the turbo heats your charged air, and that's why it runs through the intercooler to try to cool it before it comes into your engine. Well, if you're sending in, it's not going to be super hot air, but like if you're sending in hotter air than you could, then your ECU, your computer, is basically going to pull timing. You know what I mean? That's how it'll save itself from detonating and having issues. This is kind of a slum area right here. I don't know why this isn't getting like redeveloped, because it is a nice area right here. Frankfort's very much more expensive and taxes is higher. Alberta's, I mean, it's right here. It's just like Frankfort essentially, but it's way more like it needs to come up. So anyway, that's just a little side note. So I'm thinking front mount intercooler, I think, is gonna be my next thing. They're like $600 or $700 depending on how I buy it. This place here used to be called Trick Dog. It was like an art thing, and now they're a distillery. It's called Furnace Street Brewery or Distillery or something. I've talked to the it's a father-son team that do the distilling and everything, the brewmasters or whatever you want to call them. So they're doing some really cool stuff, so I'm gonna be working with them here soon, potentially even doing a video or something. I know my son's gonna come do a video, but I might talk to him too. So this just comes up here and kind of overlooks like this little bluff. You can go that way and it loops down and around, and then you can go down to the beach. But if you just come over here, you can let's see, I'll just kind of pull up over here. Oh, there's, yep, so let me grab this. Yeah, so you can see all the way out.